All right, we're ready to get things started here in the diving. 3-meter finals. 8 ladies doing 6 dives each. We're going to start with Fiona Caulfield from American University doing a forward 2.5 somersault pike. And she gets 6s and 6.5s. Next up, Caroline LaPlante from Colgate University. Forward 2.5 somersault pike, same dive. And she gets 6.5s and a 7 from the judges. Heather Yoshi, inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. She gets 6.5s and 5.5s. Judge gives her a 6. And Adero, ready for a forward 2.5 somersault pike. Five and a halves from the judges. A couple of 5s. Next up, Lindsay Staszewski. And she's doing a back 1.5 somersault with 1.5 twists. And she gets 6.5s and a couple 7s from the judges. Next up, we have Megan Fennell from Lehigh. Our 1-meter champion from Thursday, doing a forward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. And she gets 6.5s and 6s. Next up, Megan Gertis from the Naval Academy. Inward 2.5 somersaults tuck. And she gets 5.5s. And a couple of 5s from the judges. And our leader after the prelim session, even though the scores all turned to 0 now, is Serica Halstead from Army with a forward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. Got a tie for first after 1 round with 6.5s from her. She's tied with Caroline LaPlante and Lindsay Staszewski. So we got actually a 4-way tie after 1 round. This is exciting. Back to Fiona Caulfield for the start of round 2. Back 1.5 somersaults straight. She gets 6s and 6.5s. Caroline LaPlante is next. Back 2.5 somersaults tuck. over rotation may affect her in this one. The last thing the judges see is the splash, and that affects the scores. 4s and 4.5s for Caroline on that dive. She checks out her dive on the monitor behind the diving board. Heather Yoshi's up next. She's doing an inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Gets 6s and 6.5s. One judge gives her a 7. That high score and low score are thrown out, so that 7's going to get thrown out. And Adero back 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. On that dive a bit. She gets 4.5s and 4s. Lindsay Staszewski up next. Reverse 1.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists. And she gets 5.5s and a few 6s. Megan Finnell, her next dive. And then we're 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. And she gets 6.5s and a few 6s. Megan Gertis. Her next dive, a forward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. Megan takes over the lead with that dive, 7.5s. One judge gives her a 6.5, another gives her a 7. Our final diver in this round, as Megan looks to see her dive, Serica Halstead. Forward 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Over on the rotation, as you saw in the splash. So it looks like Megan Gertis is going to be our leader after 2 rounds. 4.5s and a couple 5s for Serica in that round. On to round 3. Fiona Caulfield, reverse 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Fiona gets 5s and 5.5s. Caroline LaPlante. Her next dive is a reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Sixes and mostly. 1 5.5 and 1 6.5. Heather Yoshi is on the board now. She's ready to do a forward 2.5 somersault in the pike position. tell from the splash if it's under rotated or over rotated. The direction of the splash will tell you that. Over rotations usually scores a little bit lower. She gets 5s and 5.5s. And a Darrow reverse 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. She's feeling that entry. She hits the water pretty hard at that, from that height. She hits pretty hard. We got the lifeguard reaching over for her. She's still in the water. I think she tend to make to Anna. She didn't hit her head on the diving board. She just didn't come out of the dive well enough. So she's just in the pool. She's still in the pool. She's conversing with lifeguard, one of the judges there. And she's just talking about how she's feeling. And she's hanging on the wall, so she's able to, and she's getting out of the pool now. See if she's able to return for her next dive. All right, so they've given her an award for the dive. It's a get 1s and 1.5s. She did complete the dive. So Lindsay Staszewski is up next, and she's going to do an inward 2 somersaults tuck. And she gets 5.5s. One judge a 5, and one judge gives her a 6. Megan Fennell up next with an inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Not enough to take over the lead, but pretty good score. 6s, mostly from the judges. Megan Gertis now doing a forward 1.5 somersaults and with 2 twists. And she gets 6s and 5.5s. One judge gives her a 6.5. And will most likely give her the lead. Got one more diver though in this round. Sarika Halstead. Reverse 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Reverse dive, when the water goes back towards the deck, that means it's definitely over rotated. And she gets awarded some 5.5s and 5s. So Megan Gertis still leading after 3 rounds. And to round 4 now, Fiona Caulfield. inward 2.5 somersaults tuck. So Fiona was running second after that third round, and so she'll keep that. It's a pretty good dive. Decent dive. 5.5s. A couple 6s. Next up, Caroline LaPlante. She's going to do an inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position. So one less revolution Fiona just did. Six and a halves, 1 7 and 1 5.5 from the judges. Heather Yoshi up next. Back 1.5 somersaults in the straight position. Heather gets 6s and a couple 5.5s. Anna Darrow, she's back. It's great to see. She's doing inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. It's a good return to form for Anna Darrow. She's actually getting a nice ovation from the crowd for that. 5.5s and 5s from the judges. And yeah, you can see the marks on her back, how hard she hit. It's going to take a while to calm those nerves down. Lindsay Suteski, back 1.5 straight. And she gets 5s and a couple 4s. Megan Fennell ready for a back 2.5 somersaults tuck. Megan gets 5.5s, pretty much across the board. Almost good enough to take over the lead. Megan Gertis, who had the lead after 3 rounds, now doing a back 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. As I said, the splash is the last thing the judges see, and that was a pretty clean splash. Gets 7s, 6.5s and 7s. Puts her squarely in the lead. Serica Halstead, the last diver in this round. She's doing a back 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Judges give her 7s, 7.5s, mostly 6s. Megan Gerd is still holding on to a comfortable lead as we get into round 5 with Fiona Caulfield doing a back 1.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists. And she gets a couple sevens, mostly 6.5 though from the judges. Good scores for Fiona with a high degree of difficulty dive. Caroline LaPlante, inward 2.5 somersaults tuck. She held on to that entry. The danger she was going to over-rotate. She held on. And she gets 5.5s. And a couple of 6.5s. Heather Yoshi, our next diver, going to do a reverse 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. And Heather scores 5.5s and 5s. Anna Darrow has become the hero of this diving competition tonight, doing an inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Great job by Anna there. She's getting the loudest applause in the stands of anybody. 5.5s and 6s for Anna on that dive. You can see the crowd's pretty big here for Lindsay Staszewski doing a reverse dive pike. Again, sometimes it's good to have a lot of people here. Sometimes the energy and some of even the quiet conversations can create a little bit of a distraction, but these divers are pretty good at kind of toning some of that out. And you got the teammates there lined up. I don't know about you. That could be intimidating for me, but it could be motivating for these divers. And see what Megan Fennell does here on a reverse 1.5 somersaults pike. So the divers have been doing pretty well with having their teammates stare them down at the other end of the pool. And maybe most of them don't even notice. I mean, they're kind of laser focused at the end of the board, and that's all they see. Megan Gertis here doing a reverse 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Just to touch a little bit on the athletes cheering on the divers. Sometimes the swimmers and divers kind of are very separate. I mean, they train in the same facility, but tend to not train at the same time. Sometimes they're doing separate things. The divers may be training longer. And but obviously there is a symbiosis, because when you get to these championship meets, swimming and diving points are combined, so you rely on the divers, rely on the swimmers, and vice versa. As Serica does a back 1.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists. And she gets 7s and 6s. So we still got Megan Gertis in the lead with Fiona Caulfield and Serica Halstead running second and third. As Fiona gets set for her back 1.5 somersault with 2.5 twists free for her final dive. Fiona will check out her dive on the board. Also look at the score. She gets 3.5s and 4s for that. I don't know if that's going to knock her off the podium. We'll have to see how the rest of the divers do with this round. She kind of winces a little bit when she sees that entry replayed for her. Caroline LaPlante back 1.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists. And she gets 5s and 6s. Heather Yoshi about to do the exact same dive. Back 1.5 somersaults and 1.5 twists. And notice that her feet came apart. The judges will usually see that as well. Deduct for that. You want to definitely keep your feet together. So she got 5s, 5.5s. Anna Darrow up next, and she's doing the exact same dive. So get 3 of these dives in a row, get a chance to compare them. Great way to finish off for Anna Darrow on what was started out as a great meet, great competition, and then that landing on her back. That was the best of the 3 of the twisting dives we saw. She got 6s. One judge even gave her a 7. Great job, Anna. Lindsay Krzyzewski forward 2.5 somersaults pike. She gets 7s and 6.5s. Megan Fennell off on a forward 1.5 somersaults with 2 twists. And she gets 5.5s across the board. And our leader, Megan Gertis, the dive we saw 3 times already. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. We'll see if she gets the highest scores on this dive. Yeah, it's pretty guaranteed she's going to do that. And it might even submit the win for Megan Gertis from Navy. I predict 7s and 7.5s. And everyone's waiting anxiously for those scores. Megan just wants to get in the tub. She wants to see those scores too. There they are, 7s, 7.5, and a couple 6.5s. And that's our champion, but we got one more dive to go. That's Serica Halstead doing an inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. So Megan Gertis is our winner, but our podium not yet official. Serica Halstead had the opportunity to get squarely into 2nd place. The over rotation on there is going to affect her totals. And the judges give her 6s and a couple 5.5s. So our top 3, Megan Gertis, Serica Halstead, and Megan Fennell. So Serica held on to that 2nd place, even though she kind of botched that last dive. Actually, the awards for the The diving come much later as we look at Megan Gertis, conference champion of 3-meter diving. Excellent performance for her. And I would give a special award to Anna Darrow after landing on her back on that one dive. There she is, you see her over there. She's easy to recognize with the redness on her back. I'd give her a special award just for bouncing back